Every day, everywhere, people volunteer for the good of their communities. If there were no more trees in the forests, would we survive? 10 years ago, nobody cared. We kept cutting down trees for our domestic needs. Then we started feeling the effects of what we were doing. We had floods, and the soil was no good for our crops, and some even lost their houses. I talked with 50 other women, and together we decided to start up a plant nursery to tackle the problem. This nursery now produces more than 5,000 saplings a year for replanting in the forest. In our group, women make their own decisions. Before we had nowhere to go and no way to participate. Now we have a voice and a space where we can discuss, collaborate and exercise our rights. People have noticed the difference. We have our say when decisions are to be made. But volunteers alone cannot protect the vast forests. Their resources are limited, and they need to work at a bigger scale to address the problem. They need external support. China is changing, and we are facing many development challenges. We view volunteerism as one of the ways to effectively deal with these challenges. But we know that we cannot just rely on volunteers to do the work for us. We need to find ways to work together and support each other to make our communities more resilient in the long term. Can volunteers be the thread that binds, linking informal efforts and official actors to strengthen resilience? If so, how? New analysis for the 2018 State of the World's Volunteerism report reveals that added together, the efforts of volunteers around the world would be equivalent to a workforce of 109 million people. 70% of volunteering globally is done informally between people without involving any organization. It is not just the scale of volunteering that makes it stand out. Our research shows that for communities, volunteering is an important strategy to prepare for and respond to crises. They value volunteering because it allows them to shape their own futures and strengthens trust and connections within and between communities. But because volunteerism works through social relationships, its costs and benefits are sometimes not shared equally. For example, women take on the larger share of volunteering work globally. In some regions, over 70% of informal volunteering is done by women. Young people are volunteering on the issues that matter to them, but they can be assigned roles that don't give them a say in their communities. Sometimes volunteers don't get the resources, recognition, and support that they need to tackle problems effectively. The value of volunteerism for resilience is maximized when there is complementarity with other resilience actors. But when collaboration with volunteers is done badly, this can further reinforce inequalities. How can governments and their partners improve resilience by better balancing the risks and benefits of volunteering? Governments and their partners can support volunteerism for resilience and the 2030 Agenda by moving beyond a project-by-project approach to build national and subnational structures that engage with all volunteers, including those who prefer to work informally. Providing adequate support and the resources volunteers need to move from coping to preventing and adapting to shocks. Establishing strong networks and mechanisms between communities and wider actors that give volunteers a voice in decision-making. Ensuring that volunteerism promotes the principles of leaving no one behind by supporting the equitable distribution of volunteer labour and benefits. The 2030 Agenda requires all actors to build on the commitment, agency and innovation of citizens all over the world. Ordinary people every day are taking control of their own development and pooling their limited resources to protect their families and communities. But will volunteers be the last line of defence or the first line of prevention? This will depend on how governments and development agencies choose to support, invest and engage with volunteerism for resilience.